Morning. Hey, welcome online. I'm glad you guys all joined us on Zoom. I'm going to start with a few announcements and then I'm going to do some nonfiction. I'm not going to do a lot of reviews because the list you got, which I have in front of me somewhere, has a lot of detail to it. So I'm not going to add a lot to it. You can just read it. I sent it yesterday. If you didn't get a copy, contact me here at the store and I'll make sure you get a copy. But on July 28th in store, Ashley Clark's going to be here joining us and talking about her 3-book series. And then on June 30th, Lynn Austin is going to be here and talk about her new book, which we will be talking about today. And then in July, Danny Petrie is going to be virtual on July 7th. So join us for that. But then on July 14th, we're going to have what's called Revell Publishing Presents a Night at the Bookstore. And there's going to be 11 authors here. So come and join us. All the details are on our website, bakerbookhouse.com, /events, and you can get your free tickets. You don't need a ticket. We're just doing estimates on numbers of people, but come even if you don't have a ticket. We'd love to have you that night. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be some authors that have not ever been in the bookstore before. So you might not have had a chance to meet them before. And I know I'm looking forward to meeting several of them. So join us on the 14th, but any of those nights, we're going to have a good time here. So we're going to start, like I said, with the paper that is the double for those here in the store. And this is from Bart. He is our nonfiction buyer, and he is put these reviews together. He is going to probably join us next month in July online here too, so that he can start doing this with us. So I don't have to stumble through reviews of books that I probably have not had a chance to read yet. So the first one he put on his list was The Men We Need. Again, go ahead and feel free to read this. The first line is Grant Hansen tackles the contemporary culture confusion surrounding the concept of masculinity. And when I read the rest of that, I really enjoyed what he brought out about it, because it is kind of a neat thing. Men are struggling right now. We want them to be gentle, but we want them to be strong. We want them, and it's can be kind of confusing. So biblically based, what is masculinity? And it is not being a bully. That I did check out. So that's always a good thing. Book number 2 is by Elizabeth Woodson, Embrace Your Life. It's probably not the life that you thought you were going to have. I always enjoy looking at when somebody asked me, what did I plan on being in when I grew up in middle school? And I was going to be a veterinarian. And then I found out, there's a lot of yucky stuff with veterinarians. So I'm a bookseller instead. Who knew? But this talks about enjoying the life that God has given you. He has called you to that life for a reason. So very good. See, Andy needs to change his last name, because I always try to combine Andy and Stanley at the same time, and then you get a really weird name. I'm not in it to win it. Why choosing sides sidelines the church? So it's talking about being political in the church and how the church is taking a political stance and such. So I trust Andy. I've read several of his other books. They're all very good. Actually, this one is on my list of nonfiction books to read, because that has been my argument with the church lately, is how we have politicized everything in the church. So, and then Abby Johnson has written Fierce Mercy, Daring to Live Out God's Compassion in Bold and Practical Ways. Dare to do what is hard, what is right, and what is good in love. So a little bit on missions, but whether that's in the mission field in a foreign country or right in the backyard, you're called to do some hard stuff sometimes. So this one also sounds very good. And I actually like that cover. And then this is an end times book, Not Afraid of the Antichrist, by Michael Brown and Craig Keener. Why we don't believe in pre-tribulation rapture. So I know some people do believe in that. So then we can set off a controversy whether there is pre-trib or not. So, but anybody that's interested in it, Michael Brown and Craig Keener are some people that you should read if you're looking into end times such. So those are the quick nonfiction ones. Like I said, Bart will be joining us next month, so you'll actually get more information from him, because he actually knows those books better than me. So I'm going to turn it over to Jessica, and then I'll be back in a while to do fiction.
Hey guys, so I got quite the stack this month. A lot of these titles I'm really excited to show you. I know I say that quite often, but it's true. I really enjoy getting to share all of the new exciting kids books that have come out. So with our summer reading program off to a great start, we have several different events coming up this summer. We have our pirate party with Mike Naraki, who voices Larry the Cucumber and is the author of the Dead Sea Squirrels. He'll be coming in on July 12th. And then we have Amanda Cleary, the author of Jack versus the Tornado. She'll be coming in July 26th. And then we do still have story times every Wednesday at 10:30. All right, so these next 3 board books are all part of the same series. There are now 5 or 6 part of the series. Big Theology for Little Hearts by Jessica and Donovan Provencher. They really have quite the heart for taking big theological concepts and bringing them down to a level where even the little of littles can start to understand some of the basics of it, and like what is the church, what is the Holy Spirit, what is creation, what does all that mean, and then their imagery that they use is just very simple, very beautiful. Again, just gets the basics out there. All right, these next 2 are hymns for little ones. So they are based off of the classic hymns, Nothing But the Blood of Jesus and Amazing Grace. These take the lyrics of both of those songs and just pair them with beautiful imagery. And then at the end of these books, they have the score along with the rest of the lyrics of the song they don't get to in the story. These next 2 are actually probably a couple of my favorites. So they are off of the classics, The Wind in the Willows and The Secret Garden. And what the author has done, the editor has done, is he's broken up the story into 20-minute segments so that they can be read as a family. And then he's included different definitions for hard words and different questions at the end to really engage readers and allow for a time for families to come together, to read together, and to bond over these classic literatures. Right, so Fiona has a new book in the I Can Read series. This time, Fiona's train ride. She takes a train ride across the zoo to see the new baby red pandas that have just been born. So it's all about her adventure and how she gets there to see these new little pandas that were just born. Kids of the Bible Storybook is one of our local authors that I have brought in. So he's created this because he wanted to see more stories about the different kids in the Bible. We don't get to see the kids that are in. He also reminds us that a lot of the characters we know in the Bible started out as kids. They were really little when they started being used by God in great ways, like Daniel and I'm blanking on all of the other ones that Samuel, they were still young kids. This next one is The Sower by Scott James. This has been very, very well received. They have been flying off the shelf. So he uses like beautiful imagery in his words. God becomes the sower, he becomes the gardener, and he's growing us. He's growing the world, and that concept is followed throughout the entire book. And then the illustrations are just stunning. These are a classic, I forget the name of this type of artwork, but it's a classic artwork that hasn't been used in quite some time. So he's bringing it back, and they're stunning. God and Me at the Sea. This is by Shelley Kidder. What Shelley does is that she reminds us that God's watching us all the time, which is a good thing, which means that in any moment, we can celebrate him. We can spend time with him. We can show him our love by dancing for him and singing with him, even if it's while we're at the beach having fun. Uniquely You by Joyce Meyer is a book that, reminds us that it's okay to be different. God made us all different, made us all with different purposes. There's a reason why we have different talents, different likes, different dislikes. And then last we have She Led the Way. This is a biography on several different women of color in history. Some of them are more well-known and a lot of them aren't. So it just goes through their stories and how they've impacted history in ways that we didn't realize until now. That's all I have. So back to Chris.
I have one question for you, just on these classics, which I think this is a brilliant idea. Do you know how many books they're planning on doing at all?
There's currently 5.
Okay.
And I haven't heard whether or not they're planning on making more, but I would assume so.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Thanks. That was for curiosity for me. I don't know why. I just think it's a neat idea. So especially since it's The Secret Garden, which was one of my favorites as a kid. So, okay, so this is the fiction list that we have. This is one of those lists that is actually, I am very excited about because there's a lot of really, really good titles on there. But Jessica reminded me with the summer reading program, we do have what we call the adult summer reading program. It does include teens because they're kind of in that blurry area between kids summer reading and adult summer reading. So we're just calling it summer reading. I do have a summer reading list. This is not by any stretch of the imagination all the books that are available in the store to read, but these are just some of the ones that I thought we should highlight. So you can grab your copy out there. It has been online on the blog, bbhblog.com, if you want to download it from there. So our first book is Lynn Austin's. That was convenient. It was right on top. She is, like I said, going to be here on the 30th talking about this book. This is actually a dual time for her, which is very different for her. She doesn't normally do that, but it's set. The first storyline is set just after World War II. One of the soldiers comes home and he has what they call the soldier's heart. We call it PTSD. We just didn't always understand it. She actually talks about some of the treatments they gave these guys. Which was just awful. And so reading through that was kind of difficult. But the second storyline is what caused his stress after the war and the stories he was remembering. And it's some of what, what America did during World War II and before we got in the war. You know what, I can't tell you that because it gives away a major plot line. So anyways, you're gonna have to trust me on that. But come on the 30th and you can hear all about the research. So, but yeah, this is a good one. Potiphar's Wife by Macy Andrews. I have to tell you, I love it. Okay, I'm gonna start with, I like Macy's books. I really do. I've read all of them now. I haven't read this one because I have problems when they write a Bible story about a person I don't like in the Bible, and then it makes me like them and it makes me understand them. And I hate that. I really hate that because, Potiphar's wife, this horrible woman that got Joseph thrown in prison. Now God used that. And I have to remember that she was also a human and very fallible. So I will read it. So you'll be glad to hear. I will be very glad to read it. I just haven't got to it because I have my own issues. But those are very good. I enjoy them. And what a great perspective on a Bible story where we always think of just Joseph, but there were other characters involved. So Denise Hunter, book number 2, I believe, in the Riverbend Romance. Book number 3 is due out later, Mulberry Hollow. Denise is, I think she has said, I want to say she said she either wrote 25 or 35 books since she started writing. I mean, the list is amazing. I'm not sure if it's all in here or not, but, and they're wonderful. Yeah, there's most of them. And I enjoy her books because they're just a gentle story. There's a nice little romance in there, but there's always something that somebody is either healing from or trying to help somebody with. And I really like that aspect of Denise's stories. So if you haven't read them, I actually recommend Riverbend Gap, even though in her series, most books are standalone. Those stories are resolved. The problem is you have them as background characters. So sometimes you know what the answer to their story is then. But that, she's always been just one of my favorites. So. The Forgotten Life of Eva Gordon, Linda McKillop. I think I said that right. Eva is going to run away from her life if only she could remember how. The family memory has forced Eva to move in with her granddaughter. And so, and I love that her granddaughter's name is Breezy. But Eva has to, hates the bustle of Boston and she wants to go home to where it's quiet. So this is her story of struggling with old age. This has been a thing that's happening in Christian fiction. I have to admit, I haven't checked it in secular, so it could be happening there too, where we're getting stories of people that are middle-aged or older, and they're starting to give their wisdom, so to speak. And so we're starting to realize as people, not just in the stories, that we're losing out on some of these memories of people that we've been ignoring. So to have them brought to life in a fiction story reminds me, and I had a wonderful conversation with my dad, probably a week or two ago, where we just talked about his parents and what he remembered about their lives, whether here in Michigan or in Iowa. And it was so fun because I learned things I had no idea. So because I never thought to ask before. So these kind of books, I like them for that reason. Janet Oak is writing with Laurel Oak Logan. I believe it is her granddaughter. It might be her daughter, but I think it's her granddaughter. This is book number 3 of Hope. When Hope Calls, Unfailing Love. This series, When Hope Calls, bounces off the TV series of When Calls the Heart. So if you watch that, you will recognize some of the characters. If you don't watch that, you will be fine. This is just a really good Janet Oak book. So I don't know how many more books and Janet's going to write yet. I'm assuming Laura will take over someday, but you know what? I'm always glad to have another one to sell because they're just a good, gentle story and very wholesome. I don't know what else to say about them. So, and Elslem Tide, I don't even know if that is close to the right pronunciation there. They should put that, how to pronounce the first word. But James Hannibal, this is an action adventure book. We were on vacation in February and my husband was kind of had finished some of the reading material and I said, hey, why don't you read this book for me and tell me what you think? Because I know I like James's books, but I was just curious about a guy's perspective. And my husband read it in a couple days. And he's one of these guys that when we're on the beach, he falls asleep, takes a nap, whereas I keep reading. So it took him a couple days to read it, but he really, really liked it. This is about Peter Chesterfield, and he's a top neurosurgeon at the London Hospital. And he's also a workaholic. And so then his boss orders him to attend a symposium, and things happen. So I don't want to go too much into it because I feel like this part gets a little bit of the story away. But action adventure, good, clean action adventure. A lot of guys do read James Hannibal. I've always enjoyed his books. Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham. I always call her books kind of a Walton-esque type book. Now, it's not set always in the same era. In fact, this one I believe is in 1800s. So it doesn't quite fit the era because the Waltons were during the Depression, of course, but it has that feel of being home and enjoying that time together, but also learning from each other. When things go wrong, you stand alongside of each other. Nora King surveys her family land in Iowa in 1880, and she is acutely aware that that is all she has left of her and for her family. And so she's going to do everything in her power to save that land. So of course, that includes then what the storyline is that we will have to find out how she saves that land. Rachel's got several titles. They're all really good. They're all historical, so you can enjoy them. But if you haven't checked her out, and you like historical, I would definitely check her out. And then debut author, Mary Alford, she actually offers a very interesting title, Among the Innocent. This young lady on the cover here, Leah, she lost her Amish family to a murder. She survived and then moved on with her life. She was adopted and she became an Englisher. And then years later, there's another murder in a Mennonite community and it has the same MO as her family. So did the wrong person go to prison or is there a copycat? So she goes to investigate. So this one I have not had a chance to read yet, but Deb, who works here, did, and I asked her opinion and she really liked it. It's on my pile to be read at home. So I'm hoping to get to it soon. Because I like to read the debut authors and find out what their writing style. But I would deem this the romantic suspense. And in Honors Defense by Karen Whitmire, Hangers Horseman, book number 3. I know we normally have book number 1 and 2 in the store. If you don't have them, I noticed yesterday we were completely out of them. So we keep selling them steadily. So this just continues with the group that was in the Civil War together, and then they have gone home now. So I believe this is the last one, and this is about Luke. So if you've read book 1 and 2, you probably know who Luke is. So, but you have good looking cowboys, and of course there's beautiful women involved. So makes for a good story, right? Book number 4 on the Jerusalem Road, The Apostle's Sister by Angela Hunt. This is about Aya, and she is the daughter of Zebulun of Tarsus. So you know whose brothers they are, or she is. So, and it talks about that. And so it's the story of Paul, but from a female perspective. This whole Jerusalem Road stories have been the female perspective on a story. Some of the people you know very well, Mary, but then there's been other ones too. And let's see if I can quick find you the, nope, I'm not gonna find you the ones that, the titles of the ones that, it was The Shepherd's Wife, The Daughter of Canaan. That's not it either. And that's The King's Shadow. That's a different series. So A Woman of Words is about Mary, and that's in this series. So, but I do have them on the shelf if you want them. But you can look it up by Jerusalem Road on our website, or you can look it up and then get the series. Otherwise, The Apostle's Sister will pop up on the website if you're online. So I've enjoyed them. I have not had a chance to read that one yet. I think it would be very interesting. There's been a lot of fictional stories set around Paul. There hasn't been any about Paul, but the people around him, which I have found fascinating. So Lorraine Snelling is actually writing with Kirsty Gerwin. And she is also a relative of Lorraine's. And I don't know, again, if it's whether it's a daughter or if it's a granddaughter. But she is now writing with Lorraine. This is book number 2 of Leah's Garden, A Time to Bloom. Book number 3 comes out, I think, early next year. I don't have a title on it, but this is about Delphimina Nelson and her sisters. They have accomplished much in the past, traveling west and settling in Nebraska. So there you go. So a very popular era for when Lorraine was writing or writes. The Songs That Could Have Been. I'm going to flash another book up at you, and I'll talk about that one next. I was reading these at the same time. You'll understand in a few seconds why I had to let them go. I had to put this one down and finish that one, and then start this one again. Amanda's, it's book number 2 of the Sedgwick County Chronicles. This one is about Lauren Anderson, and she's finally getting her life back on track. And then she has a chance meeting with the young man that kind of ruined her life for her back in school. So, but she also is trying to help her elderly grandmother, Rosie, because grandma is got dementia and is slowly sinking into it. So it is a story about that and dealing with it as a family, but also listening to those memories and why is she talking about what she is. And the reason I had to put it down is in this one, Kieran's actually searching for something that her grandmother, who is sinking into dementia. So you could see where I was having an issue and keeping them straight. So nothing against Amanda's book. It's very lovely and I'm enjoying it, but I needed to finish this one first. So just to keep my characters straight. I don't read murder mysteries at the same time either, because you just have too many bad guys and they get all involved and it's crazy. So I try to keep my books separate. But this one is also dual time, but it's centered around when the Smoky Mountains National Park became Smoky Mountains National Park. Now there's also a contemporary story, but the historical one and how the government, it's the only park that was made from private land. The government bought the land, kicked people off their land so that they could make a national park. So I'm not going to argue that, whether it's right or wrong. You know what, it's an interesting story. And I really, really enjoyed it. Karen brings something to the table for books like this because she used to be a national park ranger. So she knows what she's talking about in this stuff. Seasons of My Enemy by Naomi Mush. This is a Heroines of World War II book that Barbara is doing. I've been thoroughly enjoying these books. These last couple just came in last week, so I have not had much chance to read any of them. But I've liked these because they're World War II from a female perspective. And it's not the female perspective of like, I'm the nurse and he was the doctor and that's his story. This is what I did. And with this one, our main character, and let's see, Fanny, which is such a great name. And she is working on a farm, and so she's not really paying much attention to the war because other than her siblings are over there fighting, until the prisoner of war camp that is just down the road, so to speak, sends prisoners to work on her farm. And this actually happened around the country. I am finding out more and more that here in West Michigan, not only was there a prisoner of war camp in Allegan, which I did know about, there was one in Hamilton and there was one in Holland. And they sent these prisoners out to go work the farms and the blueberry farms in the area. And I'm like, huh, I wonder how I didn't know that. Why is that not part of our history class in our local? But anyways, there you go. So very interesting reads. I've enjoyed them. I don't know how many are in the heroines series anymore. If you go to Barber's website, you can find them all. They list them all for you. So, but I've enjoyed those. And then Robin Lee Hatcher, she is one of the queens of Christian fiction. She has been writing Christian fiction for I don't know how many years, and I love that. So they're always just really good, gentle stories. Like I said, I did not have much chance to check this one. Generations of Secrets unfold as a young college student learns the truth about her grandmother's World War II heartbreak and love. So there's an element of surprise and mystery to it, but it's also a little bit of a dual time. So you have the World War II part of it. Like I said, if you haven't read Robin Lee Hatcher, she's one I would recommend, especially if you like World War II or dual times or a really good story. And then Susan B. Lewis, I didn't know much about her. Bless Your Heart, Ray Sutton. Ray Lee actually goes home after her grandmother passes away to close up the house and to go back to her life. And then she kind of ends up getting adopted by what is called, let me see, the Third Thursday Ladies. That's a group that her grandmother belonged to. And so Miss Fanny, Miss Dora, and Aunt Maxine adopt Ray Sutton and, help her and through the grieving process. So good Southern fiction. It really is. It's just the cutest thing. I read a couple chapters of it. It's just really sweet. And then our last one today is the Nancy Meal story, book number 3 of the Chronicle Fires, Free Fall. Chronicle Files, Free Fall. Woo, too many F's. But anyways, this has been a really good series. This is another one that Deb's been reading for me and telling me all about. Good romantic suspense. I really have enjoyed Nancy when she writes these good, straightforward mysteries. The romance is there. It's smaller in her books. I'd probably say she leans more towards the suspense. She's just a good author. So if you have people reading like Danny Petrie or Lynette Eason or Irene Hannon's romantic suspense, I definitely recommend Nancy's books. The nice thing about this series is they all look exactly alike because I have to actually okay, there is one missing because seriously, they all look exactly alike on the outside, just different words. And so you have to concentrate. So they make it difficult, but that's half the fun, right? So anyway, so that's the last one of our recommended list. So if you have any questions from online there, please let me know. You can contact me at my email. You can call the store or you can order online. So thank you for joining us this morning.